肩膀上面。
I've tried to make his work more stylized in terms of like putting fashion over his work, and I love those colors, the sportswear colors of the summer. We have just finished our first shot of the day, and we're gonna move on to shot number 2. We've arrived on location, and it's publishing house.
我的作品有一个首先它带有非真实性，但是它又有真实的成分存在。非真实性是因为我刚才讲到的，比如说，那个支点它不是很稳定，不是很牢固的一个支点。艺术的走向，我想中国艺术走向可能会越来越带有中国的因为新兴，可能产生一种新兴文化状态的一种下的一种艺术。 它可能会不同于其他，比如说其他国家的文化的一种状态下的一种艺术。所以我的作品的一个重要一点就是我要找到这个临界点，就是在我们的真实和想象里面，它都可能存在。有一点很重要，就是我的作品里面我都会去有一个重要的一个因素就是。 它都有一个支点，每个人都有一个支点，因为你在这个地球上面。但是我的所有的作品里的支点，它是可能不是我们所认为的那么能承受人的那种重力的一个支点，它是一个非常轻的一个支点。我的计划其实很简单，就是我需要去不停地去充实我自己，去寻找一些新的一些思想概念。
Worked that well. So, you know, we went to China. It was a success. We won a lot of positive feedback back in London and from the editorial community. I mean, we're not sort of saying that is what China is. I mean, you can't sort of sum up such a huge country in a month anyway. But it was hopefully an honest sort of wallpaper point of view on a country that was still developing. And because it was a success, we decided we'd carry on with the project, and so went to Brazil last year. And again, we set up 2 main HQs, one in Sao Paulo and one in Rio de Janeiro. And again, we did 2 covers, so Anna Beatrice on top of the Emiliano Hotel on the helipad there. It was a really, really great shoot in the end. And then also a model on the roof of the Fasano Hotel in the pool in Rio. We also had artist Vic Muniz, who did this incredible, I guess it's laser cut, but loads of layers of paper up to make this image of the favelas. And I thought I'd throw this in because I thought that would have been a good cover, but you know, it didn't quite get through. We also created, so again, similar to China, we wanted to create an identity, something that showed our commitment to doing this whole issue on the country. So, as I said, everything from architecture to food to interiors was going to be based and influenced by the country we were going to. So we wanted the typography to also echo those sensibilities. And so we talked to a company called Julia. They're based in London, but they're international, 3 international guys who went to the Royal College. And importantly, one of them was Brazilian. So he had that sort of inherent knowledge about what he thought about Brazil and where he thought it should go. And we didn't want to do a cliched sort of, let's do some screen printing, and we wanted to have a modern take on it. And so they went away and came up with some ideas, and we talked and back and forth. And we eventually came to this typeface, which we then called Copan, which is influenced by the Oscar Niemeyer building, the Copan building in Sao Paulo, I think it is. And it was actually featured in the Creative Review issue and the Type Annual, so that was nice to get even the sort of smaller details acknowledged, and all that work that we put into it acknowledged as well. So again, we set up 2 different places. We did a slightly different thing. So in Shanghai, we had a traditional office, which is here. Again, you know, these shots are sort of stylized versions. I mean, they don't show us running in and out with loads of bags of stuff and you know, all being very sweaty. So you know, this is Afia, who used to be Tony's PA at the time. She now works on the one of the editors on the website, getting out of a Volkswagen SP2. So it was one of Volkswagen did these sports cars. They only built them in Brazil. So again, there's those sort of details to, you know, we wouldn't get that if we were anywhere else. So and this was how the office there looked. And again, doing setups, calling in furniture from Brazil. I mean, Brazil had a lot more design stuff to get. I mean, China was, because it was a year behind as well. I think they still had a bit more time to develop, whereas Brazil, they seem to have a bit more of a heritage of designers making furniture and products. And so we created the office, but also using sort of sourced products and furniture. And so they have a practical use, but also a use for the magazine in a shoot. This was then we sort of made an apartment, Tony, our editor's apartment. So we went there for meetings. It's on Copacabana. It's quite nice. And then some little bits and pieces just to sort of show what a typical thing is. I mean, Ben Kempton's the guy standing up there. He's our interiors director, and he's the one that makes everything very square and tidy for the shoots. That's his thing. So again, food in Brazil was amazing, so we did something on that. And the identity, again, referencing the flag, but giving our own flavor, doing a translated sort of Brazilian Portuguese section, going to the docks and the sort of part of what's driving this economic boost is all these different things. I mean, they have the Olympics in 2016, the World Cup in 2014, but also the way the economy needs to grow is oil. They need oil, and they've discovered a lot of it. And this is one of the Petrobras massive, what did I say, 34-story high oil rig. And when it's in place, it will contribute something like $5 billion to the Brazilian economy. Next is the guy who is basically part of Petrobras, Ike Batista. When we went to print, he was worth $27 billion. His wealth had tripled that year, and he makes $2.2 million an hour. So they've got some serious cash flowing around. And so, you know, so it's about the money, it's about acknowledging where all this growth is coming from, meeting these people, introducing them to the world as well, but also doing what we do. And so architectural directories, you know, some nice modernist buildings, and there's so many amazing buildings in Brazil because they have the climate as well. So modernism really works there. They have the big windows, it all, you know, amazing. We had some really great parties. But this was the story that we did with another artist, Pedro Varela. Amazing. He sent the originals to us, which we weren't expecting, and all collaged and drawn with like reflective bits. They're really beautiful, and I think they scanned in quite well. But you really had to see them in real life. They were quite cool. So that's really sort of nice and things like that. Then it couldn't be the Brazil issue with about a bit of cheekiness. And Tony insisted on this shot, so it was nothing to do with me. But then we also did a fashion story again in this issue. And again, we didn't just want to do a normal fashion story because people go to Brazil all the time to shoot the beautiful people there, and everyone knows about the supermodels they have. So we had a story about the girls of the concrete. And these are some pages from that story. So they're not exactly the traditional models that would be in the magazine. They're a bit sort of curvy, and they're from the favelas. But there was a story to it. So there was this whole thing about there's a competition, and this girl here, she's at the radio station, but she won a car, but it's not a new car. She won a used car, a Fiat or something. But it's just amazing because they were so happy to be involved with the shoot, and we dressed them up again in sort of our sort of fashion clothing. And it was quite fun, and it was quite brave, I think, because it was quite insane. But again, I've got another video to show a little bit of the behind the scenes that explains it a bit better than me mumbling about it. So let's put that on.